Okay, we're gonna test this one out. I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I really like talking, and I really like talking about books, and I like doing more long form videos, and so I thought that this would be a really good opportunity for me to try it out, and I'm really excited. There's a lot of things that I want to cover, and a lot of things I feel like I want to say. Nothing super specific or serious even. I just want to discuss. I just want to talk a little, you know? So that's sort of my motivation for doing this. But today I just wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to go over some of my favorite books, the books that I read. I do a reading log on Google Sheets. And I wanted to show that off and kind of share my 2024 one and then my 2025 one and just kind of look at it, you know? So that's my plan. Hi, I'm Casey. I'm 24 years old. I work at a library currently. I work in circulation. I help check books out. It's really cool. I work in a research library, so it's fun to see all the researchers. I'm studying library science. I am a reader. I'm a writer. I like to crochet. I like to do a lot of arts and crafts too, so maybe you'll see me do some arts and crafts. I want to start off by talking about the genres that I like reading. I think that gives the best picture of who I am as a reader, at least. So I'm looking at my stats from 2022, 2023, and 2024. Now, as of me recording this, I've read 121 books in 2024, and it's about to be 2025. So I guess we'll see if this changes. It really won't change much, because I kind of know what I'm reading right now. So, my highest category, there's a tie. So, YA, mystery, and thriller is my highest category, which is 12.86%. So, about 12%, about 13% of the books that I read are YA, mystery, thrillers. That is very accurate. And then it's tied with two more. So, about 14% of the books that I read are queer romances, and about 13% are YA queer romances. Romance in total takes up 50% of the books that I read. I read a lot of romance, and primarily those romances are going to be queer romances. So around 66% of the books that I read in romance are queer romances. And if you wanted to get really fancy, another genre that I like reading in romance is historical romances, and that makes up 19%. Historical romances make up 19% of all the romance books that I read, whereas queer romances make up 66% of all the romances that I read, and I read about half the books that I read are romance. And then there's a few other genres that I like. I really like reading dark academia, but dark academia, although it's a small genre, it makes up 3% of the books that I read, so that's a decent amount. Fantasy makes up about 9%, so I don't read a lot of fantasy. I'm really picky with my fantasy, which is why I don't read a ton of it. I would like to read more nonfiction, and I read a decent amount of contemporary fiction, which kind of just encompasses a lot of other things, as I'm sure you know. So, that's kind of big picture what I read. So, 50% of the books that I read are romances, 20% of the books that I read are mystery thriller. When looking at romance, 66% are queer, and 20% are historical. And yes, some of those are queer historical romances. Queer historical romances make up about 6% of all of my romances, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a decent amount. It's about 15 books. And then YA mystery thriller makes up about 13%, whereas just adult mystery thriller makes up 7%. I have a hard time with adult mystery thrillers, but I love YA mystery thrillers. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, amazing. I love books like that, and you will see when I get to my top 10 books of 2024 that's just sort of the book that's kind of the sort of books that I enjoy reading. So yeah, So next I wanted to talk about my top 10 books from 2024. I doubt this will change. Right now I am reading A Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's so cute. It takes the holidays and personifies them, sort of. So for every holiday there's a royal family. It's very interesting, super like, it feels fan fiction-y, but I kind of like that in a book, if that makes sense. It rides a line between being cringy and serious, and I actually think it does that very well. It feels very serious instead of being cringy, where like, if the author leaned into it, it could be considered really cringy. I don't feel cringy yet reading it, but I'm about halfway done, so we'll see how I feel when I finish. But I don't think that's going to be... I like it so far. I don't think it's going to be top 10, so I feel pretty safe about my top 10 books. Number 10 is Rainbow Black by Maggie Thrash. I have told so many people about this book. This book is like, it's just like genre bending. So it's like half murder mystery, half fugitive love story. It feels to me like it's told in 3 parts because it chronicles the main character Lacey's life for 20 years. And so to me, it feels like there's 3 distinct like events that happen, and I think that's really cool. It's also queer, so it's amazing. The next one is A Gentleman's Gentleman by T.J. Alexander. First of all, T.J. Alexander is one of my favorite queer writers, and this book comes out in 2025. I got an arc of it. Comes out in March, so keep a lookout for that. So it's a queer Regency romance, and it follows like a grumpy character named Lord Christopher, and he's hiring a new valet, and his name is James. It's a slow burn. Like a slow burn. It didn't bother me because there were a lot of other things happening, but just so you know. I think it was well worth the read. I cried at the end. It was great. I loved it. Number 8 is The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Adley Carter. I think it just came out. This book is half romance, half closed-door mystery. Very Knives Out to me. And I saw it being comped to Knives Out. I was actually kind of nervous because I love Knives Out. And I didn't know if it was going to live up to the hype. But it did. It was great. It's about 2 mystery writers, and they get these like mysterious invitations to this other like famous mystery writer, and she goes missing while they're there. Great cast of characters. I kept all the characters separate in my mind, which is really hard to do when you have a lot of characters. I want this book to be a movie. Like, genuinely, this book needs to be a movie. Stat. Number 7 is The One True Me and You by M.K. England. It's a YA romance that takes place in Florida. One of the main characters is a pageant queen, like that's what she does, and the other is a famous fanfiction writer, and they both show up at the same like convention center hotel thing. So both the pageant and a Comic-Con is happening at the same time. Chaos ensues, they meet, it's amazing. It's so cute, it's so heartwarming. I want to read this book again. So my next 2 books are from Hannah Bonham Young. I found Hannah Bonham Young this year, and she is one of my favorite romance writers, period. Now, she's amazing. All of her books are good, but I have 2 on here. So number 6 is Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. It's a Friends to Lovers books. It's filled with a lot of like emotion, but also like a lot of really hard topics, and she really does a really good job of giving both a lot of time and really delving into both of them and making it also an enjoyable read. It's one of the books where I don't remember all of the details. I hardly remember the main characters' names, but all I do remember is like how I felt reading the book, and I felt like reinvigorated. I wish there was a way to describe how I felt when I finished this book. Phenomenal. Number 5 was Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I usually despise accidental pregnancy books, but this one was perfect. I wish there were enough words in the English language to describe how much I loved this book. I think about this book quite literally every day. So it features 2 disabled main characters as they navigate their relationship, sort of, but also like the pregnancy and birth of a baby from a one-night stand. Specifically, there's a lot of like really realistic conversations that would happen, I think, if you were in this situation. And on top of that, she nails the angst that comes along with being a disabled person, in relationships. Number 4 is It's Only a Game by Kelsey Yu. There's a lot to love about this book for me. There's a lot of things in this book that I love. But what I love the most is the found family trope. First of all, I'm a big found family trope lover, but it was done so well in this book. And on top of that, I was able to distinguish all of the characters in my mind. I was able to remember all of the characters, which is really hard to do, especially because I feel like in the book we are introduced to them pretty rapidly. So it's a mystery that's told in 2 timelines. One timeline is about Marina and her past. The other timeline is where Marina and her friends get framed for murder after the creator of one of their favorite video games is killed, and they were like there for a tour, for like a private tour. So good, so unique. There's nothing else to say. It was really good. I really liked it. Number 3, The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. I know this is controversial, and I didn't know that it was going to be until I started like seeing everyone ranking their favorite Casey McQuiston books. But this one is my favorite Casey McQuiston book. I loved the romance between the 2 main characters. I thought it was done really well. I also usually hate books with miscommunication, but for some reason it did not bother me at all in this book. This is another book with a lot of like found family and a lot of characters, but once again, I was able to distinguish all of the characters. I read a lot of audiobooks, and a lot of times the audiobooks I feel like have a lot to do with me loving the book. So in this book specifically, the audio was really good. The narrators were amazing in this book specifically. Number 2, A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. The second queer Regency romance on my list. This is about the main character Violet, who's a trans woman, and romance is between her and like her old friend named Gracewood. And he thinks she's dead and she died in the war, but when she like died, she really like reinvented herself as a trans woman. I was kicking and giggling my feet the whole time. This book was so cute. It was cute, but I also like don't want to discount the fact that again there are some like hard themes, a lot of like PTSD, panic attacks, being trans. So a lot of that stuff in it. But I loved it. It was great. And finally, my number 1 book of 2024, Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I cannot believe it took me until 2024 to read this book, first of all. It's a YA historical romance that takes place during the Red Scare in Chinatown in California. And it's about these 2 girls, and they fall in love in the 1950s, and they're trying to navigate their relationship as like a queer couple, not being able to really tell a lot of their family and friends like about their relationship. But I think what's done especially well is that the characters are both very lovable. The setting is very believable. And again, there's a lot of found family. Again, it's a pattern. I love found family. On to the last part of my video. I want to talk about my reading logs and how I track my books that I read. So I started doing my reading logs a few years ago, and since 2022, I think is when I started, they've only improved. So I'm just going to show the 2024 one, and then I'm going to kind of compare it to my new 2025 one that I made. So in the 2024 one, you'll see I have the log, and the log basically just lists every single book from start to finish. This one is not updated. It has a whole bunch of metrics that I track. Title, author, month read, rating, date started, date finished, days read, so how many days it took me to read it. Format, genre, age, type, publication date, and then there are 4 diversity metrics that I track, which are queer character, BIPOC character, female character, or gender nonconforming character, and disabled or chronic illness representation or main character. And for all of those, I want to make sure that it is done by an author that also represents that diversity, if that makes sense. So if it's a queer character, I also want the author to be queer. And that's because I feel like when you are part of a minority group, you know how to tell that story the best. And I enjoy learning from reading, and that's why I try to read a lot of diverse books. So next I have my dashboard, and this has a lot of my like charts. I really like this. Is like probably one of my favorite like parts about my reading log. Books read, average rating, average days to read, and then a lot of the metrics, so the ratings, the genres, the publication date, age, format, type, diversity. Next, I have my ratings. So I rate using the compile system, or I did in 2024, which rates character, atmosphere, writing, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment on a scale of 10. I have a special formula that I use to get to my total. So a lot of people will just average them all together. I don't like averaging them all together because I think that character, writing, plot, and enjoyment mean more than the other categories. So character, writing, and plot are doubled, and enjoyment is tripled. The other thing that I do differently than a lot of people that do compile is you'll see up here I have like my 1 through 5 rating, or my 0.5 to 5 rating, and the margins get skinnier as they go up. So at first for 0.5 it's 0 to 1.25, so there's 1.25 for like the range, and at the top it's only 0.25 for the range. And that's because I feel like I rate things really high, so I try to like curb that by doing it. And I think it works. Then I have my statistics. This is another page that I really like. So this tracks my statistics from 2022, which is just helpful. This one doesn't have any charts. I haven't quite gotten there yet. But it's the same thing. So total books read, rating, monthly reads, genre, publication date, age, format, type, and diversity. Then I have a content calendar that's completely out of date, but this is sort of what I use to map out what content I'm going to do when. And then the rest of these tabs are my old logs. So the log only for 2022 and the log only for 2023. And then ratings only for 2022 and only for 2023. And that's my 2024 reading log. So, on 2025 reading log, right away you'll see that it looks different. I have these graphs along the top. I love these graphs. I think it adds another like dimension, and I just like that they're there. I think they look really pretty. I added a few categories. So the first thing I added was an emoji. I want to use a different emoji for every book that I read, simply just for fun. This just seems a lot of fun to me. It'll be fun to think of like different emojis for all the books, I think. So a lot of them are the same. I added audiobook narrator because I listen to so many audiobooks. I want to see if there's any sort of pattern specifically with the narrators. So I think that'll be really interesting. I also added where I acquired it, so if it was Spotify, if it was Libby, if I own it, if I got it from the library, all of that will be tracked. And then the same diversity metrics. For my dashboard, you'll see that it looks basically exactly the same, just different colors. I really liked my dashboard from 2024, so I just reimagined it for 2025. And the dashboard serves as the stats for only that year, so this will only track 2025 stats. Then I have a calendar, so this is tracking by week, all the way up until December 28th to January 3rd of 2026. And this is because I want to do a weekly reading roundup every week on Instagram, and so this is going to help me track all of that information. I changed my rating for 2025. I just changed some of the categories. So now the categories are going to be characters, relationships, atmosphere, writing style, plot, pacing, / execution, memorability, and enjoyment. Characters is the same. Relationship is the relationship between the characters, or if there's only a few characters, the relationship with whatever else is there. So if it's like a solo character, sort of like Nevada by Imogen Binnie, is kind of like the relationship they have with themselves. So it'll track more growth, whereas characters will track like the specific character. Was it memorable? Was it, I don't want to say likable, because I don't think characters have to be likable, but I think they have to have some sort of drive. They have to be well written, if that makes sense. Atmosphere is the same, writing is the same, I just added style for myself. Plot is the same, and then I have pacing / execution. So pacing and execution is basically like, plot is looking at specifically what the plot is. Is the plot interesting? Is the plot unique? Did it draw me in, right? Pacing and execution is looking at that plot and saying, was it executed well? Is it paced well? Because I think sometimes you can have a really good plot and really bad pacing or execution. Then I have memorability. There's a lot of books that I read where they're not very memorable, and I think that should factor in. If I remember every single detail of a book, that probably means that it was well written and that I liked it. If I don't, then it probably means that it wasn't quite as good. And also, like, looking at memorability, do I remember how I felt when I was reading it? It doesn't necessarily have to be every single detail of the book, but, like, something. How memorable is it? And then enjoyment is the same. So characters, writing, and plot are doubled, enjoyment is tripled. This one, however, is not skewed up. And I did try this out on a few of my recent reads, and it seems to be doing a really good job of really capturing how I feel about it. And this one only goes up to 5. I thought when I was going up to 10, I had a really hard time, especially on the lower end. I felt like I was rating everything 5 or above, and I didn't want that because they were not all 5 and above. Because there were so many numbers to choose from, I feel like I got really flustered. So I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see how it works this year. I'm excited. Then I have stats. So this also looks similar. It doesn't look exactly the same, but I did add charts for 2025. And I love these charts because I color-coded them per year, so you can kind of see, or I can see how my growth has growthed. I can see how my reading style has changed, if it has. And I think that's really cool. And especially because I read about double in 2024 than I did in 2022 and 2023. There's just more data to look at. So I think that's a nice addition. But it's the same metrics. Ratings, months read, genre, age, format. But yeah, if you look at audio right here, about 50%, 45% of the books that I read in the last 3 years were audio. So that does tell you something. And I feel like I read a lot of audio because I have a lot of time at work. I go through phases though. I think in 2022 I read a lot of audiobooks, and in 2023 I didn't read quite as many. I don't know why. I will probably go through a phase in 2025 where I just don't read a lot of audio. It just kind of goes, I don't know why. It just goes in phases. And that's my reading log for 2025. Yay! Yeah, this is the end of the video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. Do all the things for me, please. It's been really fun. I'm really excited for this little, like, adventure journey thing. It'll be really fun. So, bye! Hi, I'm Casey. I'm 24 years old. I am a student right now. Well, hi, I'm Casey. I'm 24 years old. Sounds really dumb, but I'm sure one of them will work. Right now, I work at a library, so I work in circulation. I help check books out. It's really cool. I work in a research library, so it's fun to see all the researchers, and it's fun to look at all the genealogy everyone's doing. But in addition to that, hi, I'm Casey. I'm 24 years old. I work at a library currently. I work at 2 libraries. I work at a public library. I also work at a research library. They're different, but they're both fun in their own ways. Public libraries are fun. I like talking to people about popular books. I work at circulation at both of them, so I do a lot of checking in, checking out, helping people. It's really cool. In addition, I'm also in grad school, but I'm about to start my last semester. I'm studying library science. I am a reader. I'm a writer. I like to crochet. I like to do a lot of arts and crafts too, so maybe you'll see me do some arts and crafts. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. This is the end of the video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. Do all the things for me, please. It's been really fun. I'm really excited for this little, like, adventure journey thing. It'll be really fun. So, bye! Ah.